Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now, 865-243-TALK. That's 243-8255. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome to the show. I am Patrick Riggins, spinning Shinedown's new song Enemies as the lead-in this week. You see, not only do you get the most insightful and intelligent analysis of the issues on this show, you get some of the best bumper music around. Bringing you all of this in a nice package, wrapped with a big broadcast footprint bow, is the radio station dominating the southeastern United States. It is none other than 100.3 WNOX, the station pouring 100,000 watts of power into the atmosphere, enabling my voice of reason to be heard in parts of 5 states and 2 time zones. With all of those advantages, you'd think that would be it. That would be all you get. And that would be true were you listening to an average run-of-the-mill radio show. But you're not. You're listening to the Patrick Riggins Show, the standard, the pinnacle against which all other shows are measured, and not surprisingly, come up embarrassingly short. But don't hold that against them. They can't help it. They don't have me, Patrick Riggins, at the helm, maintaining a steady and true course to freedom and liberty. If you'd like to watch as we venture forth to a more free country, all you need to do is bring up your web browser and type in www.wnoxfm.com. There you can see this show as it is broadcast live from the WNOX studios on scenic and safe Kingston Pike in Knoxville. That address again is WNOXFM.com. And speaking of safe drivers, our show producer Tori is here again with us this week.
Safe driver?
Yeah. How do you like this weather? Is this not great?
I love this weather.
I can go for some global warming if this is what.
Yeah, if this is global warming, yeah, I'm groovy.
Sign me up. I'll have.
No, it don't kill the mosquitoes. I don't care. It's 70 degrees outside in the middle of December.
I can kill mosquitoes using extreme prejudice.
I can go home and throw some steaks on the grill tonight and not be cold. I like that.
Well, okay. Well, the grill's always hot no matter what. You know.
Yeah. Now you're taking the fun out of it.
Yeah. Stop shooting up my fantasy. All right. Thank you for tuning in again this week, both regular listeners and the new ones. I have to warn you, new people, though, you will find yourself craving more and more of this show because it is the one show on the air today that's full of common sense. Each week, I am fighting to get back our freedoms and liberties, which have been wrenched from us by our supposedly benevolent government. All we have heard this week, too, is how Obama and the Democrats, and, well, the Republicans, too, for that matter, all say they are working for the middle class, which, as my regular listeners know, this is total BS. Both of these parties are screwing over the middle class, and they're continuing to do it by spending money like we have no tomorrow. If you're in the middle class, you might be asking, well, hey, how does this hurt me? You see, if they're spending money on social programs, then that'll benefit me because I receive some of that money. The problem lies in the fact that by doing this, the government is devaluing the money you currently have. Why do you think your grandparents lament the fact they could buy a hamburger for a nickel or get into the movies for a dime?
Sodas was a penny.
Yeah, sodas was a penny, Tori says. It's because their money was worth more then. And yet we joke about it. Talk about how cute it is they didn't make as much and things didn't cost as much. But we don't stop to think about why this is, how this is hurting our economy. The government might as well be raising the taxes on the middle class because that is what is happening when government spending eats away at the value of your money, your American dollars. That's what most middle-class Americans have their currency in, American dollars. Now, those dollars are becoming worth less and less. You see, it is easier to make your money worth less than to tax you because you don't see it as easily. And with today's society that pays more attention to the crap on television than what is happening to their country, it really isn't hard to proceed with that agenda. Don't feel bad, though, because most citizens aren't bothering to think about it either. Why do you think people who have wealth are putting big parts of it into gold? They have the money to do that sort of thing. Put part of their money into precious metals. The middle class, on the other hand, they don't have the spare change to do that sort of thing. So when the government spends more and thus has to print more money, your middle class dollars become worth less and less, effectively taxing your money away without calling it a tax. Don't like being told that? Don't like hearing the truth? Well, you're right. Let's just go back to trusting the government to make all the decisions. Because speaking up and trying to do something about it might endanger what you have or what you get from the government. It's amazing what a government can accomplish when the population sits back and does nothing. Too many Americans don't want to be told the truth. They don't want to have to face the truth because it might mean they have to do something. I don't want to go get a cancer screening because I might have cancer. The results might come back positive. If I don't go, then I don't have to deal with being told I have it. That sounds like the mature thing to do. Yeah, this country is just going to correct itself. Everything's going to work out okay. You're too busy watching TV and trying to escape reality. If you just ignore all these alarming trends, then things will work out. And besides, government isn't going to do anything to you. You're a good worker bee.
I'm invisible. I'm invisible. I'm invisible.
Exactly. That's what they keep telling themselves. You pay your taxes. No matter how much money out of your paycheck the government confiscates. Or if you don't have a job, you get your government stipend and vote the way you're supposed to. Your government will take care of you. You sold out your principles long ago. That is, if you ever really had them to begin with. We're up on the first break of the show, on the Patrick Riggin Show. This show today is going to be like the old 96-ounce steak. There's no way you're going to finish it all in just this one show, but we're going to try. We're going to pack as much in as we can. We'll be back after these messages. This is Patrick Riggins with the Patrick Riggin Show.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggin Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
This is Patrick Riggins with the Patrick Riggins Show. I want a girl with a short skirt and a long jacket. Is that on your Christmas list, Tori?
Yes. No.
No, yeah.
I already got one.
You just remembered.
What are you trying to
exactly.
do to me, man?
Well, hey, I figured you'd know. You'd say, no, I do not want that, Patrick.
Now look,
I love my wife. Yeah. Well, just,
she knows I do.
Yeah, stop by the convenience store down the street here and pick her up a little six of something, and that'll cure everything.
Yeah,
she'll be happy.
6-pack of something and a paper rose.
A paper rose. Yeah, I'd just go with the 6.
Okay, we'll do that then.
All right. This segment, I want to address something from last week's show. Actually, this has been a sore point for a few people for the last couple of shows. And if you haven't guessed by now, it is this Hurricane Sandy controversy I seem to have stirred up. I've been receiving lots of emails and cards and letters. No death threats yet. But who knows? There may be one in the offing. We still got hope. Yeah, we still have hope. What everybody's kind of getting on me about is saying I shouldn't attack the victims of Hurricane Sandy like I do. And to all those people I say, look, you're going to have to listen to this show. Listen to what I'm saying. Not what you think I'm saying, but what I am actually saying.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
To the victims of Hurricane Sandy, I'm sorry the storm hit you again. And I'm going to address this just like I did a couple of weeks ago. But it isn't my fault. I did not send the hurricane up there. I did not tell you to live close to the shore. I didn't tell you to live in a flood-prone area. Just like the people in Louisiana who live below sea level. I didn't tell you to live there. Or people who live in California, earthquake country. I didn't tell you to live there either. In fact, I would tell you to live someplace a little more safe. It's like some of those cabins up in the Smoky Mountains. They're built with about 4 feet of cabin sitting on the ground, and the rest is on stilts on the side of a mountain. So now if it rains too hard and the thing slides down the mountain, well, don't come crying to me about how you lost everything. If you build your house someplace where it is dangerous to sit, that's your fault, not mine. Now you may argue, but Patrick, to build those houses, they had to meet the local and state building codes. If they have done that, it isn't their fault then. Okay, well, if the local and state laws were satisfied with the building of a house in that area, now, I'm not so sure they guarantee it, but they are sure more responsible for it than me. On the other hand, if I tell you to run into traffic and you're stupid enough to do it, then that really is your fault. You should have the common sense to know when you're getting bad advice. If you choose to skydive, don't scream at me if your parachute didn't open. If you're going to climb a mountain, don't expect me to pay your bills if you get hurt and can't. If you're going to take chances in your life, don't expect others to pay when something goes wrong. And yes, just living life is a chance. You could do everything right and still have something happen to you. Again, that isn't my fault, and I shouldn't be expected to pay for it. It is not the government's job to provide charity to other citizens. I spent 2 whole segments on this show about this very subject. You can go back and listen to it. In fact, I would encourage you to do so. All the archive shows are on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show. Too many people want to talk about reducing the deficit, reducing taxes, reducing the size and scope of government until they need something out of it. Then they start whining about how unfair life is and how government should provide for them. It's a whole different argument when they have something they want. I addressed this last week with the hypocrisy of New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. You can hear it in the same place on YouTube. Go back and listen to it. I don't give my permission to post my past shows just to give my staff something to do. It is because they will help you learn how you should be thinking in your life, in your quest to get off this fatalistic addiction to government, to looking to government to solve all your problems. And yes, it is an addiction. And yes, I've addressed that too in my past shows. Same place on YouTube. Go listen and learn. If you like what you hear, great. If you don't, that's still great, because I now have you thinking outside the box, thinking outside your normal range of thinking about issues affecting your life. If you're going to make the argument we should be spending federal money to help these people hit by Hurricane Sandy or any disaster, if you're going to make that argument that it is okay in this case, this is the exception to the federal government staying out of it, then don't call this show complaining about foreign aid going to help others around the world. Our government was founded on the principle of natural rights, rights that all people are born with, not just Americans. And if we are going to help one group of humans, then we better be ready to help all humans in the same way, or we are being hypocrites. We are picking favorites, one group of humans, Americans, over another group of humans, non-Americans. They'll send me emails and letters telling me I'm being cold-hearted because I don't want to spend taxpayers' money on helping other people. That is not in the Constitution. If you want to send money to private charities helping people, fantastic. That is what you should be doing. But taking money at the point of a gun, which is how government taxes are collected, just don't pay them and see who comes knocking on your door. But exactly. It's more like a kick, Tory. Yes. Taking money at the point of a gun and giving it to another citizen in the form of charity is the absolutely wrong thing to do. And every diehard listener of this show would agree with me on that. If I come on this show and say, all these people who don't want to work are downtrodden and cannot keep a job, we have to support them, I'll have the phone lines packed with people who will disagree with me on that. They'll be saying, no, that isn't our duty to carry these people. It isn't our duty to provide them with housing, food, even on Obama phone. When I come on here, when I come on here and say it isn't our responsibility to be rebuilding other states with taxpayers' money for charity, I get cards, letters, emails flooding the station and my inbox telling me how I'm wrong. Either it is okay to do it across the board, or it isn't okay to do it. You can't have it both ways. It doesn't work that way on this radio show. Now, other hosts and commentators will do the politician type of thing and try to say it's okay in this one instance, but not in this other. And when they do that, they usually end up on this show with me playing their own quotes back and showing where they are being hypocritical and inconsistent. Either the Constitution allows it or it doesn't. And let me give you a little hint on the answer. It doesn't. As I said, if you want to help others through your own private charity, great. But our Constitution does not allow for taxpayer money to be spent that way. If you don't like that inconvenient fact, then propose a constitutional amendment and put it to the vote of the states, like things are supposed to be done. I don't care what the circumstances are. This is what you're going to have to come to terms with as far as this show is concerned. We aren't like a lot of other shows that powder your bottom and tell you everything's going to be okay. I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm going to be consistent in doing it. You're going to have to learn to apply your principles consistently across your life. Because if you aren't, then this is what people are going to see about you, that you aren't grounded in your principles, that you can be blown about by the winds of life. This is why people aren't impressed by what you do, what you say, because they cannot put any stock in it. They have seen how you will change what you think, what you say, to whatever life is throwing your way, how you happen to feel that day. This is the problem, frankly, Christians have. And not just to pick on them, I would include most religions of the world that seek to convert people to their beliefs. The people in those religions will say you need to do one thing, and then they turn around and do the other. The Bible talks quite a bit about hypocrites, people who burden others with loads that they themselves refuse to carry. That argument never works. It always rings hollow. If you're going to live wrong, just live wrong. But don't tell other people to live right if you aren't willing to do it yourself. And don't tell me you cherish and respect the Constitution, but advocate doing things that it doesn't allow. Too many people in America want to live off the backs of their fellow citizens. They want you to provide them with everything they need, but they don't want to return the favor, because that's not fair to ask them to support you. But they see no problem with asking you, well, no, I take that back, demanding you support them. Unfortunately, just like in my example of religion, lots of people who think this way call themselves conservatives. I can't say I've ever heard any libertarians speak that way, but I'm not so naive as to think that that's not the case. You see, the founders were a group of people who knew human nature. They knew the dark side of people, some of their inner motivations, their fears, and human failings. That is why they worked so hard to try and ensure no one branch or level of government could gather enough power to overrule the people. But that is what we have now. We have an executive branch operating outside the Constitution and a Congress who is doing nothing about it, mainly because they too are operating outside the Constitution, and we have a population who is allowing them to get away with it. And yes, I'm talking to you, the listener of this show. Each week I implore you to write, call, or email your congressional representative about these confiscations of our natural rights. How if they don't shape up, you're going to work your butt off to defeat that congressperson at the next election. So how many cards and letters or emails did you send this last week? How many times did you call or leave comments with a staffer about the issues? None? Well, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for someone else to do it? Are you waiting until things are so bad that recovery is going to hurt even more than it will now? What we need to do is get back control of what's going on in this country. And the way to do that is through Congress and getting good people elected who will stand on principle and do what the Constitution says. We're up on the bottom of the break here on the Patrick Riggins Show. Boy, it just flies by. And we'll take the bottom of the hour break. When we come back, Oh, we'll smack that Republican Party around a little. Yeah. This is Patrick Riggins with the Patrick Riggins Show. We will be back.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome back to the Patrick Riggins Show. Tori, leave that song up a little bit. I don't know what it is about this song, but I really like listening to it. You know, usually at this time of year, I'm talking about going to Florida to enjoy the warm weather, but this year it isn't that bad.
No.
It's, there's no beach, but...
Feels good, though.
It does.
I think it's supposed to get cold this week, though.
Is it really?
I think so.
That's what I've been telling people. It's been so warm, we're going to get our butt kicked in January. I can just see it coming. That's when we need to move this show to a Caribbean island during that time.
Okay.
Maybe down there at St. John, and I think the wife would like that, wouldn't she?
Well, I've talked to my cowards, see if we can they'll fit the budget, and we can just move it down there. And
yeah, well, I'm sure he'd let me do it if I paid for it.
I'm sure he's listening out there, Mike. Yeah, so.
Yeah, he's probably calling in just saying, no way.
Well, we'll settle for the keys. How's that?
The keys will work. That keeps us in country.
Yeah, we'll settle. That'll be.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be tough.
But
I'll manage. I will survive.
I'm talking Four Diamond Resort, though. You know, I have standards. I need someone bringing me towels and dabbing the sweat off my brow.
Big feather.
A big
keeping
feather.
You cool.
Yeah. Gently fanning me. Not too much, because I don't want to mess my hair up. All right. Everybody sitting there saying, on with the show, please. Yes. All right. This is the Patrick Riggins Show. Moderate amount of goofing off going on. I gave you a little hint of what I'm going to talk about this segment. What I'd like to do is talk to those listeners who readily identify themselves as Republican conservatives. I would like to ask you, why do you think the Republicans are caving into Obama? Why do they constantly vote for more government? More bad things for this country? And of course, if I'm asking that question, I have an answer coming up. It's because there is no Republican Party anymore. They are all Democrats. They are all liberals. If you are a conservative or libertarian-leaning Republican, you have no place in the party anymore. Just look at how House Speaker Boehner has kicked Tea Party members from committee assignments. Look at how they muzzled, they ridiculed, and even practically ran Ron Paul and his supporters out of the convention this last summer. You're going to tell me you like this party? You like that treatment? You need to come to the Libertarian Party. There's no home for you in the Republican Party. Not right now. Not with the current leadership. And they aren't really looking to allow anyone who doesn't agree with them to have any part in what's going on. Your party has been infiltrated, and now they're taking over. They are in charge, and they are killing off any kind of dissent or protest. The question is, are you going to sit there and continue letting these people screw you over, supporting them while they make deals that will end up ruining this country, taking away our freedom? For those of you who think I'm wrong, who say the Republican Party has these up-and-coming conservatives like Paul Ryan and Marco Rubio. Hey, look, Marco Rubio is even Cuban. Cool. That's one more for the party. One more reason to get that Hispanic vote away from the Democrats. These are the people who are going to lead the party back to its core principles. Now, that's true if you believe those core principles are unconstitutional government programs. That is what these conservative whiz kids are talking about. Here are some quotes to help clear up any confusion. Here's Marco Rubio. Hey, you know him, right? He's Cuban. He's a Hispanic and also a Republican. Isn't that great? Wow, those Republicans are inclusive. Here's a clip from his speech at the Republican National Convention this last year.
But America was founded on the principle that every person has God-given rights. Founded on the belief that power belongs to the people. That government exists to protect our rights and serve our interests. And that no one should be trapped in the circumstances of their birth. We should be free to go as far as our talents and our work can take us.
Boy, doesn't he talk the talk of a good American? Hey, did I mention he's Hispanic? He's a Republican Hispanic. I know the Republican Party likes that to be known, so I'm trying to help them out by mentioning it as much as I can.
We're special because we're united not as a common race or a common ethnicity. We're bound together by common values. That family is the most important institution in society.
This is the part of the speech where we make sure we all know that, hey, not only is he Hispanic, he's a Republican and also a Christian. It's nice how the Republican puppet masters trotted him out onto the stage to sing and dance for us. It's really entertaining.
Our national motto, "In God We Trust," reminding us that faith in our Creator is the most important American value of them all.
Wow, he should be a preacher. A good Republican Hispanic Christian preacher, preaching that faith in our Creator is the most important American value of them all. I guess in his book, freedom isn't really that important. That faith trumps that pesky freedom value every time. Let's drive that good old American, Republican, Hispanic, Christian point home with this clip.
We're special because we've always understood the scriptural admonition that for everyone to whom much is given, from him much will be required.
So I guess this falls right in line with the Republican strategy of raising taxes on the wealthy. Because much has been given to them, so much will be required. Not that they might have to have actually earned what they had. It must have been given to them. I think it's really interesting when politicians start invoking God and talking about how Christian they are when they're wanting to treat us in a decidedly non-Christian way. Do you ever wonder if God gets a little angry or irritated with all these people invoking his name and finding scripture to support raising our taxes, reducing our freedoms and liberties? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot seem to find America or our system of government anywhere in the Bible. Doesn't mention anything about it. Doesn't even mention our Constitution, nor our Declaration of Independence. Here's a thought. Maybe God meant for your faith to be personal, a private matter between you and him. Maybe he meant for you to live your life as a Christian, but not to try and force your faith on someone else, or use Christianity as a billy club to beat someone over the head, or invoke God's name in trying to push your political agenda. After all, God doesn't force himself on you. You have a choice, believe or not to believe. You have been granted the free will to determine how you will proceed. And you have the free will to change your mind and go another direction later on. What you don't have is permission to use God's name in the pursuit of your own selfish, egotistical, and frankly greedy ambitions. He doesn't need the bad publicity of you invoking his name in politics. Let's fast forward to Mr. Rubio giving the Republican weekly address yesterday. You know he's Hispanic, and he's Republican. Just want to put that in real quick. Here is the first clip from that.
Americans are struggling to find or keep middle-class jobs for two reasons. Because our economy is not creating enough of these jobs, and because too many of our people don't have the education or skills required for the jobs that are being created. A limited government can and must help solve these challenges.
A limited government can and must help solve these challenges. A limited government. Did he even think about what he was saying before he read this speech? This is how robotic these guys are. You know, must have government solution.
What are you people? On dope?
Unfortunately, they aren't on dope. Because if they were, then there might be some hope that they would get off of it and get their mind straight. But no, that's actually how these people are taught to think. They might not think that way before Washington gets hold of them, but they do dang sure think that way afterwards. Anyway, we're up on the last break already of the Patrick Regan Show. This is a quick hour. We really need like 4 hours to do this show. This is Patrick Regan's.
Patrick Regan's just station.
Exactly. Wouldn't that
24/7.
24/7. It's like CNN or Fox
24/7
News.
of PR.
Yeah, 24 hours of good PR. Good Patrick Regan's. We'll be back after these messages.
Yeah, you got
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
This is the Patrick Riggins Show. And we're just going to jump right back into it here. We don't have a whole lot of time right here at the end of the show. And what we're talking about is basically you conservative people and the libertarian-leaning people who still label yourselves Republicans. And how, frankly, it's a little misguided now that the party has moved so far away from where you are. But I was going through, I'm trying to sit here and jump through my notes here. I have a bunch of clips I was going to go on through with Marco Rubio, but I think we've made the point that he's actually not as conservative as he's been sold to us. So let's jump to the other one here real quick, since we're right here at the end of the show. The other person I want to talk about is the person who gets thrown up to me all the time, and he was the vice presidential candidate, Paul Ryan, and how he's going to save the Republican Party. He's the young conservative, the pit bull going after Washington. He's one of the true limited government attack dogs. Well, here's some clips from a speech he gave just this last week. Let me jump down here to it on our clip thing. There we go.
How do we get this sense of real security and upward mobility for all Americans, especially those in need? You see, the problems, they're the same.
Yes, those problems have been the same. It's government meddling in the lives of our American citizens.
But the old ways won't do. We need new thinking and renewed efforts from all Americans.
Those old ways of freedom and liberty, they won't do. The government needs new thinking and renewed effort from all Americans. You see, the problems of society are because we Americans haven't been working hard enough to solve them. So the government's going to help us along the way.
We need a vision for bringing opportunity into every life. It calls for a stronger safety net, one that protects the most vulnerable and promotes self-reliance.
Yes, a stronger safety net. Paul Ryan is not Hispanic, like Marco Rubio is, though, which helps the Hispanic vote according to the Republican consultants and advisors and most of their candidates. Anyway, he's advocating a stronger safety net, Mr. Ryan is. And I remember reading about that in the Constitution, the part about how the government is going to provide a safety net for all Americans. Heck, we'll even provide it for people who aren't Americans but live in this country.
Every problem doesn't disappear through the workings of the free market alone. I would love to say if we just went on the gold standard, it would all be settled.
There you go. This is the true thinking of a government knows best politician. And the Republicans wonder why Romney and Ryan couldn't win. Why the conservative base did not turn out and vote for either the Democrats in name or the Democrats who call themselves Republicans.
Americans are a compassionate people. There's a consensus in this country about our obligations to the most vulnerable. Those obligations are beyond dispute. The real debate is how best we can meet them. It's whether they are better met by private groups or by government, by voluntary action or by government action. Truth is, there has to be a balance between the two. Government must act for the common good, while leaving private groups free to do the work that only they can do. There's a vast middle ground between the government and the individual.
There you go. Yeah.
Am I hallucinating here? Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?
You just heard the ramblings of a Democratic Party as voiced by a Republican. There, Paul Ryan. Here's one more clip.
We must look first to those who have already done the hard work of actually fighting poverty. Their example, that must inform our approach. And government must work with them.
So, if you've been running a nonprofit fighting poverty, you aren't doing enough. You haven't been successful enough, so the government is going to join you and make everything work so much better. Because as we all know, when government gets involved in anything, the whole process runs so much smoother. As I said when I started this segment, or 2 segments ago, the Republican Party is no longer the party of small and limited government. I've been pointing this out almost from the beginning of this show back in the spring. I've replayed Republican after Republican touting their government solution to everything that plagues American society. They are no different than the Democrats. The only reason they want to win elections is to gain control of the levers of power in government, because then they can implement their plans to, quote, improve things. You see, if you listen to these people from both parties, both the Democrats and Republicans, it is never about getting government out of your life. It is about changing government's role in your life. None of these politicians want to remove government from your day. After all, what would you do without them to boss you around? This is why I'm reaching out to all these people who are starting to realize government is not the answer. They themselves are. Working within their families, within their communities, that is where the changes are made. This is what scares government to death, that American citizens are going to start providing for themselves. Because with that comes the realization that you don't need government as much as you thought, or you've been told you did. Well, what happens then? You start voting for people who will start restricting government. And with that comes less power for those who are power hungry, and less jobs for those who want an easy government job. If you think all of that is going to come about without the government fighting back, I have a bridge I'd like to sell you. Neither government in general nor government workers are going to sit back and allow you to take their money and power away from them by merely voting people in or out of office. The institution will fight back, not always through direct means, sometimes through indirect means, such as more taxes, more money for their pensions, more money for their job retraining. They're going to try and get theirs. You can count on it. And if you think either party of this huge government machine is going to ride to your rescue, you're going to be in for a cruel awakening. Both parties derive significant amounts of money and power from Washington, and even state and local governments. With so much at stake, expect to hear the shrieking and the fear-mongering to be taken to a level not seen before in this country. The predictions of doom and gloom without government regulating this industry or that product, without government intervention to protect the little guy, without government watching over the shoulder of big business. Speaking of which, do you ever find it interesting how suspicious everyone is of monopolies when the government has a complete monopoly in its particular industry and gets none of that same suspicion? Government does not allow competition, yet we welcome government. But if a business tried that, the government would try and shut it down. If it couldn't, it'd ratchet up the pressure on it until the company relented and broke up its monopoly. Strange how we apply one set of standards to industry and a totally different set to our government. Anyway, we're up on the last of the show here. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a lot to get to. I still haven't gotten to half of what I wanted to get to. But there's a solution for that. You can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show. That's Riggins, if you need to know how to spell that. That spells Riggins, not Patrick, for those of you wondering. But it's facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show. That's all together. You can also follow me on Twitter at @Patrick Riggins. And as I mentioned earlier in this show, you can go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show. Again, that's all together. That has all the old shows on there, and they'll have this show on probably tomorrow sometime whenever the guys get it all cut down and edited and everything. You can also email us, and I get those emails at patrickrigginshow@gmail.com. And you can also send us a letter the old-fashioned way via U.S. mail. Just send it in care of the station, WNOX, down here on Kingston Pike, and they'll be sure it gets to me. We're up on the end of the show. Thank you again for listening to everyone. I appreciate all you listeners. Join me next Sunday afternoon where once again we'll talk about freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. This is Patrick Riggins. We'll see you next Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Have a great week.
Join us again next week for a solid dose of truth on The Patrick Riggins Show. Every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. Be there.